A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
This is Andrew McLennan. Across the Western world today, there is a battle for unborn children. And we can never talk enough about it as Christians because we believe that God puts life inside of us while we're still in our mother's wombs. And tonight in Perth, Western Australia, there is a pro-life rally being held at Parliament House. And one of the people involved is Maryka Groenewald, who is the State Director for the WA Australian Christians Party. And Maryka joins me now. Maryka, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's always a pleasure, Maryka. As I said in the introduction, we can never talk enough about pro-life. It's one of the great tragedies of the modern Western world in particular that so many babies every year their lives are ended. I don't want to say terminated. Their lives are ended. And so tell us what is going on in Perth tonight.
Yeah, and look, I just want to give full credit to the Coalition for Life. So Australian Christians work in partnership with the Coalition for Life, and they, of course, have been putting on these rallies for the last 20-odd years. So the work that they do in WA is quite tremendous. And, of course, with that, to proclaim life and to celebrate life. You know, we now have this culture that so defaults to death, and the whole point of having a coalition for life and having people stand for life is that we actually can celebrate and talk about the value of it as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So tell us the logistics of this march. Where's it happening and what time is it happening?
Yeah, so we've got a pretty great opportunity every year to do our rally at the steps of Parliament House, and it's usually during a sitting week, so we often have members of Parliament and people coming and going, and we often have more than 2,000 people there. So if you can imagine, every year we have this incredible opportunity. We're speaking about the unborn. I mean, WA recently have just passed some pretty atrocious legislation, so this year has made it even more important because, we get to be at Parliament House talking about the issues and having, all these incredible people there to join us.
Yeah, it's great. Do you get any pushback in these public demonstrations?
We have done. The last couple of years, I must say, have probably been the most controversial because, of course, last year in WA, as I mentioned, we had a massive abortion reforms to our legislation. So we had some pretty violent and angry protesters last year, needed to have some police presence. But you know what? At the end of the day, we're not going to be intimidated or, we always graciously hold these rallies, and so we're going to keep doing that. But as you can imagine, it is a very contentious issue.
Yeah, and is there a lot of online debate and banter and argy-bargy as well?
There can be. I mean, the thing with life is what people have often forgotten in the conversation is, at the very least, right, we want to be able to share Christ's heart with people. And that goes for both, of course, grieving the precious lives that have been lost, but also speaking life and just reconciliation to these mums as well. We don't know what a lot of these mums go through. And of course, we know now that statistics show us that a lot of these women are sitting in churches. So, we need to be able to value and love them both. We need to be able to have legislation that cares for both the mother and baby, but of course not turning a blind eye either to the fact that, unfortunately, abortion legislation across our country, it is becoming easier for women to have these abortions and, of course, up to birth in a lot of these instances.
Yeah, and Maryka, you're a woman, so the line that is often touted is, it's my body, my rights. As a woman, what's your response when someone says this is about my body when they're talking about abortion?
Well, of course, it's not just our body. There's a unique life inside of you with unique DNA, with, a whole different person. So this default of my body, my choice is actually a bit of a farce because you are carrying a life with unique DNA inside of you. It is a precious human life. And I always say to people, okay, well, what age then would you deem it appropriate to take the life of a child or a baby? And no one can ever answer that. But because it's out of sight, somehow it makes it, easier? So I think even bringing the value back that this is a person, this is a life, is really, really crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. And, some of our listeners are new to Vision, Maryka. They may not have heard you speak before. You are the WA Director of the Australian Christians Party. There doesn't seem to be many Christian parties left in Australia at the moment. So tell us about the Australian Christians Party.
Yeah, so look, we've weathered the political storms over the last couple of decades, that's for sure, and predominantly was based in Victoria and WA with a federal presence, but over the last couple of years we've just sort of said, look, we really want to make sure we're established in one state and then go from there, and that's what we've done. We've just faithfully used what God's put in our hands, and at times, it's just meant being faithful, for example, with one state, which has been WA. So we've run in state elections, run in federal elections, and very blessed to have been able to, of course, like I said, weather the political storms over the years because our stance is so unashamed. I think if you're going to stand for Christ, you've got to either stand for Christ or you've got to sort of back off. But, for us, it's very unashamed for life and faith and families and freedom, and that's always been our main pillars for sure.
Yeah, okay. So what are your three biggest policy positions, would you say, as a Christian party? What are your big three, the things that you're, I think, talking about the most or strongest on?
It's often the things other parties or politicians won't touch, and you often find that is within the area of families. It is within the area of life and our faith. We've seen religious discrimination, we've battled Equal Opportunity Acts here in WA, and of course we've been very across the gender ideology issue for many, many years now, speaking about the just atrocious implications of the gender clinic. So we tend to talk about the things other parties will not touch, won't not touch, and just keep aligning those priorities with what God wants us to talk about as well, which is really important.
And tell me about the traction you're getting in WA as far as people responding and coming on board and engaging with you.
Yeah, it's been incredible. Every election cycle we continue to grow. I mean, WA has been a good state for us because we've been ploughing the ground here for a significant amount of time, especially as Australian Christians. It's been about 10, 12 years. So, there's really good groundwork. There's a really good grassroots network here as well. And we've just built on that over the years. So next year is a state election here, which is pretty significant for us, hopefully be able to gain up to 2 seats. So, that's just been really ploughing the ground and just making sure we build our base the right way and according to a godly blueprint.
Yeah, and would you say you work more closely with any of the major parties, or are you just completely separate from both the majors?
Well, I won't say that we're part of any party. I mean, with any election, especially if there's certain policy issues, you've got to work with parties. But the great thing for us is we don't have to compromise our stance. So, you work with those who are willing to support the right legislation. And, of course, we're happy to work with anybody that is willing to be able to do that too. So we have good working relationships really across the board.
Yeah, that's good. And so what would the dream for the future be of the Australian Christians Party?
Well, look, we're all pushing, like I said, towards the state election next year. We've got now local registration in New South Wales for local council. So, we're just continually building, and we've said wherever God opens the door, we'll pursue it. But for the moment, it's really to focus on the WA election and getting those crucial seats in the upper house.
Yeah, and so if someone is listening from another state right now and they wanted to get involved with the Australian Christians Party, how do they do that, Maryka?
Yeah, they can do that via our website. I mean, we've got people not necessarily in WA, we've got supporters from right across Australia. So we've always said if the right people come forward and there's an opportunity to build into other states, we're more than happy to do that. But they can definitely register through our website and find out more.
So that is, just repeat that website for us again.
AustralianChristians.org.au.
AustralianChristians.org.au. And the Rally for Life is actually on tonight.
It is at 7 o'clock at Parliament House in Perth. It's going to be a beautiful night as well, so no excuse to hold off because of the weather. So yes, tonight, Parliament House, 7 o'clock. And there are some people obviously meeting earlier to have a bit of a prayer together, but just like I said, an incredible event, incredible opportunity to stand for life. And this year's theme really is around every life is a gift. So we want to make sure that that is a very crucial message that we're sending, that every life is a gift.
Yep, so it's 7 o'clock at the Parliament House in Perth, WA.
Yes.
Well, Maryka, we wish you all the best with that. We pray that God's hand and blessing will be upon everyone involved, and that, you know, it would also reach people, and as you said, even women who potentially have been involved with abortions or had abortions, but that they would also feel the love and the grace from the hearts of the people involved, and that God will just shine light through everyone tonight in Perth, WA. Maryka, I want to thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.